Hey, what's up? It's your boy Rawk. I've been setting goals for myself at the beginning of every week in an attempt to do more with my time than just playing Wii chess, and my goal for this week is to have a personality, so I like debating now. I mean, come on, I get to argue with people to convince them that I'm right about a topic that I'm passionate about. I was practically born to be a debater. I could be a political debater, a religious debater. Hell, if the mood strikes, I could even see myself as a maths debater. So let's see what's on the docket for today's debate sesh. No! God, I'm really in the mood to buy a game, but not actually own it. Yeah! The games industry is not unlike humanity. It always wants to go to war, and the battle that it's currently involved in is the war against physical games. Ever since the birth of the industry, having physical copies of a game has been the standard practice. Back in 1991, you didn't even have to think about the fact that you owned a copy of Operation Secret Storm, and you had to think even less about destroying it. Physical media is just how video games have been delivered to us since their inception. And you know what they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This wasn't broke, so they didn't fix it. The 2000s brought us consoles with digital storefronts, and with it, the fall of mankind. Games could now be purchased on the console itself. There was no need to drive all the way to a game shop, buy Sonic Lost World, and confront the decision you made for the entirety of the car ride home. You could just download the game to your system and hate it immediately. Fuck you! Ever since this became standard practice across all consoles, the big video game companies started to realize, whoa, we enjoy this. You think this is good? You should try hard drugs. Digital offers a lot of benefits for these companies, which means they enjoy it for incredibly selfish reasons. Creating physical video games is a timely and costly process. You have to mass produce cartridges, cases, box arts, and inserts, and ship them worldwide to be distributed in stores. If I had to go through all of that effort just for disappointment, yeah, I'd be on meds too. With a digital copy, you wanna know how much effort goes into that. Weep. Right away, these companies are saving so much money by distributing these games digitally. And if physical media ceased to exist, their profit margins would go through the roof. Speaking of which, when a game is sold at a shop for, let's say, £50, there's only a small portion of that money that goes to the manufacturer. They have to split the profit with the retailer, otherwise why would the retailer bother carrying these games? Counterpoint, Amiibo Festival. With a digital game, however, the company sees all of the profit from that sale. And considering there was no cost that went into creating the digital copy of that game, they win. Granted, there is cost associated with maintaining the servers and storefronts that these games are sold on, but I'm willing to bet that that cost pales in comparison to the cost of creating hundreds and thousands of physical copies of each individual game. So, from the company's perspective, yeah, no piss they want rid of physical games. Are you kidding me? They could buy a nice new code with the money they'd gain from not offering physical alternatives. But I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say fuck the multi-billion-dollar corporations. What's in it for me? Well, to most people, the biggest benefit of buying games digitally is the convenience factor. They don't have to go to their shelf, pick up the box, open the box, take out the cartridge, eject the cartridge that's currently in their system, and put the new cartridge in just to play Sonic Mania. They just have to find it on their home screen and boom, they're in. It's a lot more convenient, there's no doubt about it. And I get why that's the way a ton of people want to experience their games. But the joke's on them. I can do both. Why did I buy Sonic Mania twice? Because I need a financial advisor. So, what other benefits do digital games have for the customer? Do drawbacks count as benefits? Because if so, there are loads more. You want the convenience of not having to put in a cartridge or disc to play a game? Well, you better be prepared to pay for it. Digital games rarely ever drop in price because game companies are greedy pigs. Physical copies, on the other hand, whether you're buying them new or used, you'll always be able to find them for cheaper than they go for digitally. And speaking of used games, they aren't a thing on digital storefronts because don't be ridiculous. Nobody ever used this code before you did, I promise. Buying digital games also means that you need somewhere to store them, and most consoles nowadays come with, honestly, not enough onboard storage. Sure, the PlayStation 5's 825 gigabytes of storage may seem like a lot. Until you remember modern games are fucking huge! Most of the modern Call of Duty games end up having file sizes that excel 200 gigabytes. So if you want to play 4 Call of Duty games and fuck all else, be my guest, go digital, I'm sure it won't make you miserable. Now let's be fair here, physical games also take up a lot of space, but really? Do they? Of course you're probably saying, have you looked at your game room recently?
No, why'd you ask?
Yes, my games take up a lot of space, but I'm a collector. I have a lot of games and really care about how I store and display them. But most people don't have my illness. They just want to play the newest FIFA and maybe a couple of Mario games. And when you only have a small handful of physical games, the corner will suffice. Sure, stacking them like this means you'll be put on a hit list and you have to constantly move them around to get out the game you want to play, but that's nothing compared to the constant file management you have to do when you're going all digital. But none of these issues hold a candle to my biggest issue with digital games. You don't even fucking own them!
And you really want to own this, don't ya?
When you purchase a digital game, you don't actually purchase the game itself. You purchase a license to run the software. You're essentially buying the rights to actually use a digital file that anybody can get their hands on, but you do not own that copy of the game. This may not seem like a huge issue, but video game ownership is important. Because if a company feels like it, they can just say, ooh, sorry, we don't want you to play that game anymore. Thanks for the money though. But companies would never do that, right? Surely I can trust Activision and EA. And if not them, I can definitely trust Nintendo, right?
Knock knock. Who's there? Satan.
If you survived Mario's 35th anniversary and still believe that digital is the way forward, have you ever considered euthanasia? Super Mario 3D All-Stars was sold from September 18th, 2020, and was due to be made unavailable after March 31st, 2021. Now, Nintendo had full control over the digital distribution of this game, so when they said it was time for it to not be purchasable anymore, the eShop listened. But with physical copies, the gamers will revolt. Used copies of this game are still available for purchase long after this game was delisted. But you can't buy new copies of this game anymore, so surely digital and physical are just as bad as each other in this case. Yeah, somebody tell that to Asda because they aren't returning Nintendo's calls. And then look at Super Mario Bros. 35. That game was only released digitally. So when Nintendo flipped the go fuck yourself switch, we all lost access to it. Permanently. I know this is an anniversary title, but bad practices start with one misguided step. So what's to stop companies from pulling this exact same shtick with games that aren't special anniversary titles? Hell, certain company executives like Todd Howard are bothered, disturbed even, by the fact that you can keep accessing a game after the initial purchase. To paraphrase his words, he has an issue with the fact that we don't have to continually pay to play our favorite games, and I doubt he's alone with that mentality. And an all-digital future? That's how he gets his way. When there's no alternative to a digital purchase, that's when things like continually paying for access or ripping games away with no real cause stop being scary thoughts and become the accepted standard. The point I'm trying to make here is, digital distribution allows companies to control how you experience their products, and I think that's fucked up. I know how this sounds. Oh, put away the tinfoil hat, Rawk, get over yourself. But I'm not going crazy here. These are things that are happening, or will be happening based on the mindsets of company executives. And even outside of this, an all-digital future will do immense damage to game preservation. Again, look at Super Mario Bros. 35. That game was only available digitally, and now nobody gets to play it in any way, shape, or form. Look at Scott Pilgrim vs. the World the game. Until it was re-released on modern platforms, that game was also completely unavailable, and that wasn't even down to malicious practices, that was just licensing issues. But if it had a physical release in the first place, then we wouldn't have had this issue. Because when we do have a physical alternative, there will always be a way of playing these games. And when you take that alternative away, the entire industry suffers.
I personally think that digital and physical
each work best together. I obviously vastly prefer physical releases of games, but that doesn't mean I've never bought games digitally. It's a nice option to have, and for some games, yeah, I'll indulge. But that's all it should ever be. Another option. It should never straight up replace physical alternatives. And honestly, I don't think it'll ever be able to truly get rid of physical games. But I don't know if you could tell, I'm a little bit biased.